Apparently it didn't stand out for the last 6 months, but it will now.
Well, now, yeah, yeah, we've had all kinds of calls today because they apparently put something on the news about the Green Mountain tags. So we've had everybody with anything besides a blue tag calling today asking.
Did they run out the end of the first of the year?
So the blue, so
Oh.
the green and white tags, the green and white mountain tags are no longer. And so everybody essentially should have new blue, but you have
Who's gonna
certain
do the
handicap
minutes?
tags that are, until the start of the first year, are not blue.
It's pretty simple.
So we had to hold with
You just
renewing
fill
any
it out.
handicap tags in
Fill out the
December
form.
for January until it was
Date
time,
of
so.
meeting,
But you have
agenda
Purple
number,
Heart tags, military
motion,
tags, things like that, that are
second,
white,
the actual
and everybody's
motion.
scared that they don't have the right tag.
Right,
And
right.
so we've been having calls.
I know he can do that.
We
All
get
right,
all-
Schuster.
February 21st, 2023,
Uh,
9 a.m., Rowan County Courthouse.
And if you run into trouble,
Who said that?
You got it.
tug on me and I'll help you.
Bob?
Alright.
Mm-hmm. In office, yeah. Good. Hear them about, agenda.
Yeah, they're all over here.
Well,
Only
he
thing-
explained that, it's under, that's Bill Satterfield's requirement, that he had to have a site plan, he got to have to build a permit,
And the sewer.
yes. So he's working on all things Bill said, when you get all these things, then we'll approve
Okay.
your rezone.
That's fair.
I just didn't hardly know how you call it commercial when
I'm
it's
gonna
still
hire-
agricultural, but I understand what they're doing now.
Maybe he can fix you.
Cheating here. You know, a secretary's job isn't easy. It sounds easy, but it's not. Isn't there a Secretary Appreciation Day?
I think it's administrative
They don't call
assistant.
it
They don't call it secretary.
Yeah,
No,
we
it-
don't call it that.
Yeah, I can't call it that now.
Is that a no-no? Okay, here are minutes. Do you have anything left over? There should be 20 of each.
What done, Hangster? You dispensed justice today?
Quickly this morning,
That's what you was hoping for, wasn't it?
they had 2 attorneys, made them both mad. That usually means they did it right.
If nobody's happy, everybody's getting their fair share.
Then this afternoon, the one I thought would go for a little while this afternoon, the other attorney got caught in another court, so they called and agreed to reset the case.
We could have done much over then, couldn't we?
Yeah, oh yeah, I'm gonna tell you all that.
So it's new phone system.
No clue.
I don't think anybody knows. They're working on it, been talking about it for a long time, but I don't,
So when I first took office, one of the things that I did was with the
How do you
clerk's
like my
office, is I
trees being
claimed the business
Trimmed.
for my.
Did you notice?
I did
because
notice, yeah.
It couldn't be edited online, so it said
I
county
even
court
had my
purchase.
driveway.
Right.
So I dropped the cord off of it
Then I had a big
after I was able to claim it. When I
I
did
heard
my
you tell.
new greeting,
I ended up in
just
the ER.
like,
I had
Harold's
concussion,
did, put
contusion.
on there anything court related, didn't encumber, but
At your
you're sending
house?
calls, so.
Yeah,
One
I
of the
can't sue
questions I
myself.
have on the phone system is,
I didn't mean to sound like my cousin Vinny.
apparently so.
It's
That's
the best thing
That's one of
well, and
the
that's the thing,
main
so,
things.
cause we get so many calls for the courts right now,
Mhm.
and, you know, we're,
And Anita's the one to talk to, she knows everything about whatever they're doing. Buddy don't have a clue.
She was my 6th grade homeroom teacher and first grade teacher.
Let's see if it's.
These extras here.
I have no. I'm in line for me, but it's not funny.
Yes.
I just
So
finished
you don't
up.
want to be secretary?
Jesse James. I scribbled up the Civil War.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a terrible job, isn't it?
Most of that, they focused on
We'll just put the extras here.
conflict.
I've got if anybody wants one,
See.
and you can have one.
More
Gary?
the first half of the agenda. More about the Civil War in the state of Missouri. Yeah. It really wasn't. It just neighbor fighting, neighbor there, and just bushwhackers and guerrillas and Jesse never let go of that lifestyle. Frank wanted to. It's-
Really? You know, Missouri, that was Missouri and Kentucky, West Virginia,
And I
they
guess,
were all split from the East Tennessee.
yeah, and I guess I had heard, just didn't remember it, that, Jesse James lived in, around Waverly, Tennessee, under a different name.
Really?
J.D. Howard, for a number of years.
You remember Ab Climbs the Barber? He was the youngest of 12 children. His oldest brother named Sam, they lived in Stockton Valley.
Yeah,
And in 1914, he was storing clothes, suing clothes, and clothing stored in there. He goes to trial.
Unquote.
3 years.
He's almost through. I have a free secretary.
You're at 4:30 meeting.
Joins,
Well, I can't help it. He resigned.
he joined the
You sure do blame a lot on him.
Well, he
Everything
was,
go wrong,
he
now
was
you
the
blamed on him.
secretary. I'm
So-
sorry, he's having to do it. He's
He
not the
had-
secretary.
he wrote a
Although,
letter to his parents.
It'd be nice if you were the secretary.
So he wrote to a neighbor, and he had changed his name.
Any oddball
once he
salt
got to
tape.
the Navy.
Like that. There
And
we
they
go.
really not heard from him
Thank you.
in
So you
really
got yourself
letter
a hat.
the next year. And he was out
Oddballs.
in, Wyoming. None of the family ever heard from this guy then.
Are we
Yeah.
ready? The meeting is called to order at 4:35. If we can have roll call, Judge?
sure.
Let me see if I have a roll call form.
We're all sitting right here.
That's okay. Here it is.
Gallagher,
Here.
Wampler.
Here.
Waller,
Present.
myself, Tucker, Hunter,
Here.
Shaver,
Here.
Albright.
I have a opening statement. The meeting today was called by Commissioners Manshaver and Adam Waller. And I have a concern over this, and actually I had several concerns. One was about the 12 pages of emails. So I contacted the Office of Open Records to find out whether we can communicate back and forth. And the answer is that we should be very careful about how we communicate. The Open Meetings Act clarifies that written communications, including emails, can constitute a violation of the Tennessee Open Meetings Act, TOMA. You can address whether and when to put something on the commission's agenda, but any decision of the merits of any item and any discussion on how commissioners will vote would likely constitute violations. It may be prudent to include in your emails that any discussion of the merits of an issue or how one intends to vote may constitute a violation. Just to remind the recipients not to discuss something in an email and send a hasty reply. It would constitute a violation if the discussion occurred before or after the meeting. So that was my first concern, was the back and forth communication. The second concern that I wrote to the Office of Open Records Council was the meeting itself being called. I asked Commissioner Waller under what authority he was calling the meeting, and I believe he fell back on County Commission's rules and procedures and the fact that Robert's Rules of Order was part of their rules and procedures. So my question was, who has the authority to call a meeting of the Public Records Commission, either a regular meeting or a special call meeting. If you wanted to read through the statutes directly, county public records commissions are covered starting at Tennessee Code annotated 10-7401. The chair of a commission most often has authority to call a meeting or special call meeting unless the commission has some other arrangements in its founding document. Your county attorney or CTAS may be able to help you find the resolution which established the county PRC, and that may have included a charter or bylaws, laying out the responsibilities of its officers. Please check with your county attorney first, but it is my guess that the committee chair has the authority to call the regular and any special meetings. So, that was the answer to that. I looked at the original resolution and there was no charter or bylaw included in the initial resolution. The other item of clarification was something that was mentioned in the endless emails, and that was the January 23rd being the cutoff date by the insurance company to stop paying on the lease of the facility. An email from Ms. Husky. I said, do you know when commission members, officials were notified about the insurance reimbursement ending January 23rd? I received an email from a commissioner dated December 8th alluding to that. For that reason, I am thinking some officials were told about the same time or day. A source told me that it came from a county commissioner. That was news to me until I read the newspaper and I was misquoted in the newspaper. Subsequently, I requested 2 corrections from the newspaper. The newspaper erroneously said I was the archivist, when in fact I provided the newspaper with information via email prior to the publication that said otherwise. Ms. Husky's reply to my finding out about what the date was, what year, while the insurance company has been breathing down my back about the storage rentals, I believe someone misquoted me. I believe that date is January of 2024. That includes all our rental spaces, including the offices space at the temporary courthouse 201 Alma Place. The insurance company has stated they will no longer pay for any rentals after January 24th. So I wanted to clarify that because I think there was an urgency to do something about the records. And while I agree that there is an urgency, I have to explain that this process has not been easy. The process is that the office holders, they are the records custodian of all of those boxes. We are simply there to supervise or ensure that they do the inventory count. When we first started in doing this, we sent out letters. Actually, it was the Public Records Commission that authorized the letters be sent to the office holders, requesting that that be done. That started in 2019 after the records came back. It's been a challenge to get that done because there's some office holders that didn't want to do it. And in some ways I can understand because there were certain boxes, especially the large boxes with the trustees' books, which are the property tax books. They were full of mold. So we were cautioned by the insurance to wear N95s and gloves. We could not touch those unless we took safeguards to protect anyone who is handling those records. Having said that, Mr. Tuck assisted each of the office holders because if they saw a permanent record in there that they could identify using this retention book that we are required to use, they would put it aside so he could go over it. He had maybe 2 days a week that he could do that. He has other obligations. So having said that, we are required, in your packet, there is a records disposition authorization for county government records. We are required to use this. We cannot get around it. We can't. This is also something that the Public Records Commission will use when we authorize the destruction of those records. And the chair will have to make sure that whatever is on this paper, in fact, the records coincide with what is on that paper. So, having said that, I think that we have worked as hard as we can, considering we have no budget. And we're really at the mercy of other people to do it. And if they can't do it or won't do it, we have to do it. And with 2 people, it's been a challenge. So the question is, how do we finish the inventory so we can, get it behind us? The only thing that is left now are the records that are obsolete and should be destroyed. But we have to enumerate each box of what's left. The records that I think Commissioner Waller requested to know, an inventory of what was cleaned. I can show you from the pictures that the only thing the office holders would put on the box was clean. They would say circuit court or chancery or historical, but that was it. Could I get them to do more than that? No, I wish I could. But if you had a box full of folders, I think it was even a challenge for them to enumerate all of the different folders. I specifically asked the restoration people, what did you do with all the records that came out of the courthouse over here? All that belonged to the 2 courts. They said they simply took them. They had to inventory. And if they were looking for a certain file, they would have to call and find out because they had not kept a file of records. I can tell you that we sent 18 pallets to be cleaned. Of those 18 pallets, I would say 15 belong to certain offices such as soil conservation, now the district attorney general, circuit court, criminal court, school board. So there were certain boxes that were identified. So anyway, that is the process that we followed. And I don't know what else we could do other than get more manpower, more people to help us. And so far, County Commission has not allocated funds for that. That is my statement. I'm not sure that we should be having a meeting because it was not noticed as a special call notice. And the special call notice has to specify every item that we're going to discuss and nothing else. So I have a problem about the legality of this meeting. Thank you.
Madam Chair, if you're ready to open the floor for conversation, I'd like to amend the agenda by adding an election of officers to the agenda. We've not done that in 3 years. No reflection on anybody or anything. The last time I was here, there was the problem with the secretary. I'll be more than glad to do the secretarian part of it. You won't have that on you, but I'd like to add that to the agenda. Elect officers. That ought to be done every January. And this isn't a special call meeting. This is a regular call meeting.
No, sir, it's not.
Well, it is.
It said in the email that it was being called by you and Mr. Waller. That is a called meeting. And I'd like to remind you, Mr. Shaver, that at the November 29th meeting, when Mr. Tuck tried to resign, I'm going to read. Chair Hunter reiterated historian Mr. Tuck's request that someone else take meeting minutes because he no longer wished to serve as secretary. He attempted to resign. Commissioner Waller did not understand why another secretary would be needed by the next meeting. Chair Hunter said the next step of the inventory would be a laborious task. Commissioner Waller said that an election of all officers should be held, but only after the two nominees were seated to the Public Records Commission. Judge Sledge spoke of taking roll call, but he did not wish to serve as secretary. We should wait until we have two more people on the commission so they can have a word. They can have something to say about the direction of this commission.
I've added to the agenda, election of officers. I don't know why that would even be a problem.
Because it was discussed and it was decided.
Do you need a second?
No.
Okay.
I'll be glad to do the secretary part.
Well, it was already decided, Mr. Shaver.
I make a motion to nominate Mr. Shaver as secretary for the whole Public Records Commission.
No, sir, no vote at this time.
Pat,
We're not
Pat,
going
you
to do
can't do
this.
that.
I'm sorry. There is a question about the legality of this meeting itself.
There is no question about
There is a
legalities except
question.
with you, Pat.
No, sir.
You can't prevent us from taking a vote, Pat.
Well, I can.
Chairman's a fine thing,
I
and you've
can
done a
talk-
great
I
job.
can
Let
talk
me
about
say
the
this, you've
legality.
done a great job. Darryl, Mr. Tuck's done a great job. I tried to help you one day and that didn't go real well, but, I think Mr. Tuck was there for part of that. But I don't understand why there's even a problem. You've done a great job. You've done what you've done. You've complained quite a lot about it, which I understand that for what you've been through and all that. What's your objection here?
We're going to stay with the agenda.
Well, we already amended the agenda.
No, sir, we have not amended the agenda.
Pat, you can't do that. You have no authority to say we can't have a vote, Pat.
We have a prepared agenda. If you want to add an item to the agenda, it'll have to be under new business at the very end.
That's not correct either, Pat. We amend the agenda before we start.
The agenda, if it's amended, it is at the discretion of the chair to add the agenda and where it is added.
That's not correct, Pat.
That is always how it's done.
I don't know what to tell y'all. We're at a real impasse right here, guys. I'm gonna have to have some insight and some input here of some kind. I've never in my life seen a chairperson that would prevent a vote.
I read the minutes. We're going to move on to the approval of the meeting minutes of November 15,
What are you doing with that?
2022.
We can't move on anywhere, Pat. You don't get to just make that a unilateral decision.
The decision
I don't
was
wanna have an
made at the
argument with
last
you.
meeting. We went without a secretary because of Mr. Waller.
I'm trying to add a secretary right now.
I'm sorry, it'll be added at the end of the agenda.
Well, Hank only agreed to take notes just for roll call. I'm sorry, Judge Sledge, sorry.
It seems to me that the value everyone's time who is here today, that there was a public notice for the meeting, there is a quorum here. If the members of the board wish to vote on whether or not this is a actual meeting, that would be the appropriate place to start. If it's not, if the majority does not agree that this is an actual meeting, then you drop back and punt and you set this for an actual meeting that the chair calls. I think that would be. the
What's
place
your
to start.
suggestion then? Take a vote on the meeting?
Take a vote on whether this is a meeting or not.
I make a motion that this is a meeting.
I'll second this as a meeting.
All right.
Never heard a meeting that wasn't called a meeting, and it was properly noticed, as you said.
And we have an agenda.
We have an
prepared.
agenda, we have a quorum.
All right. All in favor of saying that this is a meeting to conduct business?
A voice vote, please.
Huh?
A
Call
voice
roll.
vote. Roll call.
Oh, well. Gallagher,
Yes.
Wampler,
Yes.
Waller,
Aye.
Sledge, aye. Tuck,
Yes.
Hunter,
No.
Shaver.
Yes.
All right. Motion passes.
Now I'll make a motion to nominate Commissioner Shaver as the secretary.
Call roll on that one, Mr. Secretary. And then you'll be
Take some
done.
notes. All right, motion was made by
Waller.
Mr. Waller to name Mr. Shaver as secretary. Is there a second?
Doesn't take a second. Nominations don't take a second.
All right. All in favor, Gallagher?
Are there any other nominations?
I have a question. Do you have to be on the commission to be a secretary?
Yes.
I think that you do. You have to be part of the commission. I nominate Mr. Wampler.
You want,
Do I want it?
you can deny, you can turn it down.
Yeah, I would decline right now myself. Next year, I don't care, but the first year of my office, I don't wanna be, I'm trying to learn enough as it is.
Not much to learn there, is there?
You would think.
Close the floor nominations.
Let's take a roll call vote.
All right, Ms. Gallagher? Mr.
Yes, whatever.
Mr. Wampler?
Aye.
Mr. Waller?
Aye.
Myself, aye. Mr. Tuck?
I'm going to abstain on this one, simply the fact that I really believe that the other two people that have been nominated to be in positions on here should be here.
Ms. Hunter?
I'm going to vote no for the same reason.
Mr. Shaver?
Aye.
Motion carries.
And on that, no one has been nominated because the mayor hasn't nominated anybody to county commission.
There are no nominees
So,
to anything
as of
yet.
yet, there are no nominations.
Yeah, but he's had those names for quite a while now.
Mr. Chairman, Madam Chair, I'm gonna nominate Mr. Waller to be our chairman. I wanna say this again, in all sincerity, you've done an outstanding job. I think you've taken it as far as you can. I think as a chairman, that gives Adam a tad more oomph possibly with Nashville. I think we're to the point we've got to get her done at this point, so I'll nominate Mr. Waller as the chair.
Are there any other nominations?
Ms. Hunter?
You don't need a second for a nomination.
Is there discussion?
I nominate Ms. Hunter.
Close the floor.
As we take roll call, please mention the name that you would prefer as chair.
Absolutely. Well, if I'm writing here as fast as Hank can. In fact, I'm not even writing nothing yet, Hank. I'm gonna need your notes when we're done.
All right, Ms. Gallagher, Mr. Waller, or Ms. Hunter as chair.
Not me.
No,
No,
I'm
you
asking, I'm asking,
gotta pick
I'm
one.
asking what's on your mind.
Wait, no, who are you voting
I
for?
don't know.
I'll say Hunter.
Mr. Wampler?
Pass.
Yeah, I mean,
Just pick
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I don't know enough about the committee. I'm just getting my feet wet, so, can you abstain on that? Or does that even matter?
You can.
That's fine, I abstain.
Mr. Waller?
Waller.
Who's next?
Me. Mr. Waller? Mr. Tuck?
Hunter.
Ms. Hunter?
Hunter?
Mr. Schaefer?
Waller.
Got a tie.
Now what do? You take another vote and you drop whoever doesn't get the most this time.
No, we're gonna wait until.
We're not waiting on anything, Pat.
Yes, we are.
No, we're not.
Yes, we are.
You can't make
I'm
that
sorry,
decision,
Mr.
Pat.
Shaver. Your first meeting and you're already starting up something that happens on a regular basis on county commission.
Let's don't go personal, Pat. Let's
It
stick with the
is.
business at hand. Hank,
Yes, sir.
Hank, our proper procedure from county commission is if you have a tie, you vote again. You vote till you break the tie.
Kinda like what they're doing in DC right now.
I
Yeah.
was thinking we might be here a while.
Well, I'm kinda like Riley, you know, I'm just getting into this and I don't know much about it.
I can tell you one thing that I'm going to say publicly. Mr. Waller has missed 3 meetings, 2 in 2021 and 1 in 2022. We need a chair that comes to the meetings, rolls up their sleeves and does work. And that is important. Leadership is important. Doing work is important. Following the rules is important. Following the law is important. So even if you haven't had any experience actually doing the inventory, you can ask Mr. Tuck, who has been there the entire time. You know, as opposed to someone who has never inventoried one box. So, if that's the kind of leadership that you want, so be it.
Pat, don't turn personal. Let's
It is
don't do
not
that.
personal, it is factual.
Hank, I'm gonna say we have to vote again. If you want to abstain, if you want to vote, whatever you want to do, but we need to settle this tonight.
The one thing that I'd like to say is, you know, I think Ms. Hunter, you know, she has been so dedicated to this.
And she can continue to be dedicated. Nothing doesn't change this.
Yes, but in that position though, of high dedication. And she probably knows more about these TSA laws than anybody up here. And so that's the big reason I think she should stay on.
And let me say one thing, I will only stay on until the new people come, and if they want a change in leadership, I will agree to that. My position is only to stay here long enough until we have new people here, so they can decide the direction, because the genealogist and the archivist will be very important to this project, because the next phase will be the archives. And included in your packet is a sample of the county archives. And the mayor selects the archivist, but the Public Records Commission as a body will decide in the direction of the archives, and this is important. We cannot leave those boxes to stay in those important records to stay in boxes for another 100 years. That would be a travesty. So, the archives is very important, and an archives program. And if the Public Records Commission wants to go in another direction, I'm fine with that.
Let me just say too that I feel like there has been a lot of pressure put on to take some kind of action today. And I do understand that the records have been in storage for quite some time. In fact, they were stored in the basement of the courthouse for quite some time. I don't know how many years, maybe 100 years, maybe more than that.
Over 100 years, Judge.
in 1994, the law was passed for a public records commission in each county to be created. There was not one created in Loudon County until 2019. So
Actually,
15
it was created in 1994 and just went dormant.
Yeah, so created but no action. So 15 years, no, that's not right, 19 and 25 years. Nothing has been done. And all of a sudden, through the burning of the courthouse, COVID, something's gotta be done today. And I don't think something has to be done today, especially in light of the information received from Ms. Husky that the rent will be paid through January of 2024. I don't think that there is this pressing issue to get something done today, that this meeting was necessarily had to happen today. I do think it would be prudent to add the other members of this meeting and let them vote and to have a say in who the leadership would be. And I do think it would be prudent for everyone on this committee, though, to recognize it's not this committee's job to inventory the records.
That's correct.
It is the county department head's job to inventory those records and submit requests to this committee to make a final determination or not whether those records should be destroyed or retained. So once that has been done by a county department and they submit their request, it's not this committee's job to go out and look to make sure they did their job right. That liability falls on that county department head. So although the process doesn't have to be urgent and done today, we don't have to extend it forever so that this committee can go look at those records. I guess all I'm saying in fact, what the law says is if the County Public Records Commission fails to act upon a request of a county officer or department head having custody of public records within 6 months after those records have been reproduced, as they're required to be done so by law, then that county department head can ask the state librarian and archivist or designated representative, who then has the authority to authorize the destruction or transfer of those public records. And then if that body or that state librarian or archivist doesn't do anything, at the end of 9 months, then the county department head makes the decision. So although this body is important in what we do, we're not the end-all, be-all of what happens with these records. And we need to be careful in overstepping our bounds. But all that being said, because there's no pressure on us to do something today. And in the last meeting, we did discuss having these other two members on here before we elected officers. And if the committee does want to seek new leadership, I personally think it'd be appropriate to have those other members.
That's fine. The reason why I wanted to meet today was because of our lack of information from Ms. Hunter in terms of Mr. Shaver asking for minutes from previous meetings and me simply asking what was sent off to be cleaned with no response. So that's why I wanted to meet today, just to get answers on that. So
I can tell you how how the office holders, what they did. The office holders, and I have pictures, they simply put clean and it went off. Now, I've reached out to the restoration people to see if they have an inventory list. Because last time they did an inventory list. The only real inventory list that I have is the one that was submitted by District Attorney General Russell Johnson. And I found out from the archivist, the state archivist, that they're not considered county records and that they didn't have to be inventoried at all. The state archivist also told me that we do have to use the RDA form. We do have to submit it to them because they have the final say. So, and I have that in an email.
So what is left at Yale?
I believe everything that is left at Yale are records that are obsolete, that we simply have to either get the office holders back to finish their inventory or, identify. Many boxes.
I thought they already had.
That all the
No.
I
officers
thought
have
all
been
those
down.
boxes on the
No,
left have
no,
already
no,
been
no,
identified.
No, all of the boxes were not identified. Many of the boxes that were never opened, and only the restoration people opened those, were the ones that were had mold, and the office holders refused to open, and I can understand.
So you're saying all that on the left that's still up there still has to be looked
No,
through?
on the left-hand side, if we are to do what the state archives has told me in an email, is that we still have to identify those records so they can approve them.
Well, I'm
But if
gonna,
the county department if the county department head hasn't submitted this form to us, there's no action for us to take.
Well, there are a lot of those forms up there.
Now they can't be up there. They gotta be submitted to this board, for this board to make a decision on whether to
Well, I
contain,
understand
destroy.
that,
But, so if they're just,
So are the forms up there filled out on the boxes?
yeah, they're filled out on the boxes.
so what's it gonna take? Are you saying all of that that's still up there is not destined for destruction yet?
It is destined,
Then
So-
then what do we need to do to send it for destruction?
according to the state
Nashville
archives.
says-
Nashville says.
Okay,
that
then
we
every
have
one
to
of those
fill out the
forms, they're all filled out on the boxes.
Not all of them, not all of them. A lot of them are, but not all of them.
Then how do we get those sheets and
Mo-
send copies to,
most
hold on,
are.
hold on.
Most are.
How do we get copies of the forms that are filled out on those boxes and send it to Nashville and get them to okay, so we can get that crap out of there?
We get a copier or a printer, make copies of those and
A
scan
sample,
them and
a sample,
sample and
that's what
scan
is in
them,
each box.
send them to the commission for their approval.
And then that goes to the state.
So, yeah,
Does
I'm
this
near a
sheet not
description of
say
something that's
What's in
impossible.
each box? It's got,
There's one of those forms
Yeah.
on the outside of
Description of
each box.
records.
Yeah, I think you
On
just send a
most of the
sample to the
boxes,
state,
not all.
don't you?
I don't really know.
I guess I'm gonna back up yet though and say we've got a tie in a vote on a chairman. We've kind of jumped on over that. I'm not sure how you leave a tie unless we have co-chairs. You could possibly have co-chairs if you have a tie with chairman.
Now I'm for waiting.
But,
These are the boxes that nobody would open because of the mold.
I would open anything up there, Pat, and you scolded me for it.
Again, we have boxes up there with filled out sheets. How do we get those forms to Nashville and get the junk out of there? That's my question. There's a bunch of boxes that just need to be destroyed because it's been gone through, the office holders don't want it, and it needs to be destroyed. It's been sitting up there for 4 years.
That's not our fault.
Well, I'm not saying
I
it's
didn't say
my
anybody's fault.
fault.
I'm saying we need to get rid of it.
Well,
We just bought a
like I
10,000
said,
square foot
the
building and started
state-
putting stuff
What the
in.
state people explained to me is that we have to vote on the destruction of those records and send the same information that we give you to them.
I make a motion to destroy everything up there that the county
No,
office
sir,
holders
you're not
don't
gonna
want.
do that
Well-
until.
Well, you just told me that we had to make a motion to destroy records.
we've gotta have the
We
retention
have
form
to
submitted
have
to
the
the
retention
committee.
forms, Mr.
They're all up on the
Ball, for
boxes.
Pete's sakes.
And
So
yes,
we,
that
do we
everything-
need to go get all those off the boxes?
We make copies and put the originals back on there.
There's no copy machine up there.
Guess what? Why do you think I added money to our budget so we could buy one?
A copy machine?
No, a printer, a scanner.
Well, I have a scanner you can have.
This is ridiculous.
So do you take this sheet and you take a picture of what's in that box and put them together and send it and say, can this be destroyed? Is that what you did,
A
pretty much?
sample of what's
Pretty
in there.
much, we have to bring this form before this body.
With a picture of what's in the box?
We don't have to do that. She said, for example, if there was a box of, old registration tags, we didn't have to put that there were 200 copies, just put one box, registrations, 1986. That is good enough for them.
Okay.
And then we bring this information, scan it, so we have it and we vote on it. We send the same information to the state archivist. They have 6 to 9 months. She said that she would expedite our request and get it done within 2 days. That's how eager they are to help us get this taken care of.
So then what can I do to
So
help?
what's
Go
the,
get
yeah, what's the
copies
first,
off-
what's the first step to
What can I do to
doing?
help get copies off the boxes up there? These
We
copies off
get,
this
we
box.
finish the boxes and then we make copies and bring them back here so we can approve them and we send them to the state.
I mean, why can't we take the ones that are already finished
We can do that,
and the department heads submit those,
we can do that.
we make a decision on them, and then you're left with what you're left with. And then the department heads have to go look at those.
And actually, because the books, there were lots and lots of books that were either the private acts or the public acts. The
The law
state
library
has,
books.
they're not. The state archivist has said that those are not considered county records
They're books.
and that they're not counted at all.
Right.
So there were lots and lots of boxes of those. We don't even have to worry about counting those.
Yeah, we just-
So we put those aside.
Well,
But
those-
what
well,
about the
those-
stuff that's there? How do we get it gone?
We count them. We finish the inventory. If the office holders are not going to do it,
But they've already done it, you said.
no, they have not done everything. They have not.
The boxes with a label on it are done.
The boxes with the labels.
Okay, that's the vast majority of it up there. Just right down to the simplest form. Take one box out of that building. How do we get it sent for destruction? We have one box with a piece of paper on it. You say we need a copy of it?
We need to scan it or send it here, so we have a copy of it so we can approve it. That's how it works. That's what they've told me over and over
So
again.
could we go up there with our phone and take a picture of each one of these that's on the boxes and print them off and bring them here for approval?
Yeah, or email them or whatever, so we can put them up on the
Pretty
screen,
much
so we don't have
you
to.
know,
And a sample.
And
of what's in there.
what percentage?
so if you
Pat,
take a
would we
picture of this
forgive-
paper
get
and a
rid of
picture of
and
what's
a
in the
sample's
book.
already
The
done?
vast
And
majority of them have the
that's
record
it.
retention or destruction form on them.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So what percentage of, Daryl, you may be able to even answer to, what percentage of boxes do we have up there that have these retention letters on them that we just need to document in
I would suspect probably 80%.
80%?
What day next week do we wanna meet up there? I'll bring my scanner and my laptop and we will spend the day scanning all these RDA forms and then meet here February 13th and vote to send all this to national. What day next week, Mr. Tuck, do you wanna meet up there and do that?
Let's see, I'm switching my, Thursday or Friday.
Let's do I don't wanna do Friday 13th, that's bad.
Thursday,
Why not?
Well, what time do you wanna meet up there Thursday the 12th? What time?
but it was, whatever it's gonna be.
9:30?
Sure.
I encourage everybody to come join.
Now, I'm fixing to slip y'all a Mickey right here, right real quick. I don't know what else Pat wants to do. I still say we got co-chairman right now, but this meeting was never expected to last this long. We got school board meeting stuff starting at 5:30. So we're fixing to wrap up right real quickly right here.
I would like to, at the very least, approve these minutes.
One of the meetings wasn't even a meeting, was it?
We didn't have a quorum, so do you vote on meetings that don't have a quorum? Or minutes that don't have a quorum?
According to the Office of Open Records Council, it was a meeting. We were to take notes, and that's exactly what I did, and that is what I'm submitting.
But no vote could be taken.
That's right, and it states that.
What
That
was the earlier in the year one? What about that one? I've been waiting on minutes for forever.
No, there were only two, November, the 15th and the 29th.
I thought there was one like way early in the year you mentioned one of the emails.
Motion to approve November 29th minutes.
Second.
Did you say November 29th, or did you
Yes, ma'am.
say November 15th and
29th.
29th?
29.
Is there a second?
I second.
All ayes?
Aye.
Any nays or abstention? We're going to approve the November 15 minutes.
It's the 29th.
That is the, that is
She's
the
wanting approval
29th.
of the 15th minutes now,
Okay.
and there wasn't no meeting.
According to the Office of Open Records Council, it was a meeting. We were required to take notes. We did so, and it is noted that the commission discussed the agenda items as noted. It was also noted in the minutes that there was no quorum. And if the Office of Open Records Counsel that knows about TOMA, the Tennessee Open Meetings Act, is asking us to do this, we should do this.
I'll make a second to it then.
Is there a motion?
I don't think there's a motion.
I'll make a motion for November 15 minutes.
Mr. Tuck is a motion, I second. All voting aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Uh,
Any nays? Any abstentions?
Yes.
Mr. Waller is an abstention.
I'll be down there the 12th at 9:30. I'll bring my scanner and laptop. We'll scan every single box up there that we can.
Okay.
I know that the meeting ends, is gonna end pretty soon, but I want public comment before we end this meeting. Is there anyone who would like to
Well,
say something?
before we do that, let's address, so we've got this, we did have a vote for chair. It was a tie. I would make a motion to hold that vote in abeyance until the next scheduled meeting, when the new board members are hopefully added to have a chance to vote.
I'll
Do we
second
have a
that.
scheduled meeting?
On February 13th, so.
We have the 13th as the next meeting, that's after they are installed.
I'll second that.
All voting aye?
Aye.
Any nays or abstention? I vote aye also. The ayes have it. Thank you, Judge.
Hey, I appreciate your public comment. Rich couldn't clear his throat in 10 minutes. They're here, they're ready to start their
Well,
meeting.
there's still 10 minutes.
Well, I'm gonna make a motion we
No,
adjourn, let the
sir,
school
they're
board
going
have
to
it.
hear public
Second.
comment. If they come to the meeting, they have a right to
I
speak.
appreciate that, but we should have started that a long time ago. We should have been
Well,
in
you
front of the
took
meeting.
up all the time.
Oh, my.
Is there anyone that would like to speak? Please keep your comments brief, but we would like to hear you.
Well, I would like to say that history is very important, and each county that's in the state of Tennessee, my name is Carolyn Ritchie, and my family has a long history with Loudon County.
Did you write the book?
I'm the one that wrote the book. And
Great
when I
book.
went to the Loudon County Courthouse, the library, Loudon Library here, I also went to the road superintendent, went to Tellico Village Public, Property Association. You couldn't find any of the old maps of Loudon County prior to Tellico Dam. So when anybody wants to look back on history and find things that happened in the past, it needs to be available to the public. So I don't know what happened to all those things in my instance, but we need to take care of the past, because you think if our forefathers hadn't taken care of what was written with the Declaration of Independence, we wouldn't have a free society today. So history is extremely important. And the old things that were written back in the day are documented, and they need to be open to the public. And if all these other little nook and crannies across the state of Tennessee have archives, Loudon County should have it as well. So I will say that.
Thank you. Anyone else?
My name is Shirley Harrison. I live in the 5th district, Mr. Shaver's district. I wrote him an email back in December when I was aware that there was gonna be a little bit of a controversy going on about records and preserving history for Loudon County. And I asked him to be sure to, my husband and I were in favor of preserving the history of Loudon County over the last, 100 years, and that we think public access is very important for these records, and it has to be some kind of public access that is handicap accessible. It can't be just any place. So we want it done right, and we want it done. And I am a member of an old family in this county, and people are up in arms, I can tell you, about doing away with our history. So that's
Ma'am,
our-
what we're talking about sending for destructions like car tag registrations from the 70s, things that,
there are things that can be sent
right,
away.
that's what we're talking about.
That's all it is.
Okay, but there are other things that can't be sent away.
Absolutely.
Okay, and I don't know who's gonna end up doing this, who's gonna decide. I'm very confused, you know, with all this going back and forth, but I'm just here to say, you better do it, because I'm in the 5th district, I vote and I talk to people, okay?
Thank you. Mr. Bush?
Yeah, Gary Bush, I just want to make one comment, and the back and forth today, and her comment here is, I make a strong recommendation, I heard the judge say multiple times that it's not the commission's job to be going and running and getting some of these forms. They're supposed to be submitted, so how does this commission get support to force the department heads that are supposed to be submitting this for disposal? If you're in a company, I ran areas, I have a responsibility for record retention in my department. Every year, they would require me to submit the documentation, what the rules are, what other things for keeping it. So from a commission perspective, I would say this job in the commission, I would see is make sure you're setting the rules for what needs to have to be submitted, because according to law, and make sure following Tennessee law, and the records are being retained properly and disposed at the proper times by the department heads and hold them accountable for doing their job. So you shouldn't be running in there making copies of what I heard right, and correct me if I'm wrong, but what I heard right is this commission shouldn't be running over there making copies and getting this. These should be getting submitted when you say they're supposed to be
I
submitted.
think moving
filled out.
forward, they will be,
Yeah.
but looking back from
This-
everything that was in the bottom of the.
This is
courthouse,
unique.
I
What's
understand
normal?
that, but still, the
Yeah.
department heads still have a responsibility.
We
even for
went
those.
to the county commission and the mayor wrote letters. It did little to no good.
Yeah, but we still gotta hold those people.
That,
And anyone else?
that is one unfortunate thing in the law that I've looked at is, and this body has a responsibility, but no authority or action they can take for a county head not doing what they're supposed to do.
Mr. Ackman, you'll have the last word, and we're almost out of time.
You may not like what I'm gonna say, but I'm gonna say it anyway. I don't believe this meeting is legal. You cited Robert's Rules of Order, which was adopted by the county commission, was not adopted by this commission. This board, it should have been a special call meeting, you didn't notice it properly, and anything you decide here today is null and void. As far as your membership, Mr. Shaver, seek to ask guidance in TCA section 107401 says there's only one county commissioner permitted on this committee.
No, it doesn't. No,
Yes,
it
it
doesn't.
does.
No, it doesn't.
I'm not gonna argue.
At least one. At least one. We got a motion and second adjourn. You got folks here ready to do a real live
No,
meeting.
he is just about finished. Do not interrupt him, Mr. Shaver.
And because I think that I'm right, I wrote to the Attorney General, we'll find out whether you're legal.
You're fine. You're fine.
Are you through, Mr. Ackman?
I'm done.
The meeting is adjourned. Motion and a second.
Make a motion.
Is there a
We
second?
done had a motion and second. So we have two chairmen right now, right? Hey, we have, as well, y'all have to sit side by side, hold hands. Yeah. You have a helper now.
The motion I made, the chair, and did you second that?
I don't know who did, I'm fine.
Oh.
That's why I just.
Well, sure, I think we all will. We will, man. We will. Absolutely, absolutely. She won't give us records. She's withholding sunshine law. She's everything.